Hi, it's Josh again, back at it with the funny deck profiles. This time, we're going to do Shaddoll. There's a lot of one-offs in this deck, so do not be surprised when every single card in this deck does something wildly different. Except mill. They all mill. In some way, shape, or form. Right, so, we'll get straight into it then. First things first, we have Tearlaments Scheiren, Tearlaments Havnis, and Tearlaments Merrli. Both of these? All three of these. They mill 3 in some capacity, which is nice. And each of them has the effect that when they are sent to graveyard by card effect, they shuffle themselves into another monster to fuse something. Fairly standard tier stuff, but specifically Scheiren can special summon itself from the hand and then send a monster card from hand to grave as an effect, which triggers most of the Tearlaments stuff and the Shaddoll stuff. Very nice. It's also level 4. Level 4 is great. Havnis is the hand trap. If your opponent activates a monster effect on field, I can special it and mill 3. This tends to just not come up a lot anymore because it's just at 1. You've got to search it now. But, hey. And then Havnis is just a normal summon that mills 3. Or a special summon, if you special it off like Cross Sheep or something. Very nice. It's a level 2, which means you can send it off a bunch of stuff to fuse. All of them very good. All of them necessary. Don't ban them, Konami, please. Then we've got 3 copies of Reinoheart. Now, it's very nice. It mills a tier monster. This can trigger your fusions. This can trigger Tail Cash, which is like a miller. And then when it's sent to grave by card effect, you can special it, send 1 tier card from your hand, and then obviously when it's special, it gets its trigger. It's very nice. It's a good normal summon. It's a tier name. You need it for a bunch of stuff. I know some people run it at like 2 or 1. I don't like that. I like being able to normal summon a tier name. It comes up way more than you'd think. It's very nice though. Next, we have... Well, I'll put them together then. We've got 3 Fenrir. 3 Fenrir is nice and all, but it's mostly here, in this deck, to search for Tearlaments Kashtira. Now, obviously, Fenrir is just good anyway. Generic. But specifically Tier Cash, you can activate it during either player's main phase, special summon it, and then, as an activate effect, mill 3, and then when it's sent to graveyard by card effect, you can mill 2. Now, you can do this in your opponent's turn if you have an excess of tier names in your hand. Let's say you've got a Sulliek and you're going second. You don't want that Sulliek most of the time. So you just tier cash on their turn. If you hit a combo, you win. It's normally how it goes. The fact it's a 7 is nice if you're running things like Dracosack, but we're not today. Still a very good card anyway. And then, to complement the tier names that mill, we have 3 copies of Scream. When a monster is summoned while a tier monster is on the field, you can mill 3, and then lower all your opponent's monsters that they summon for that turn by 500. This applies to the player, so monsters they summon after that still get reduced. Comes up a lot more than you think, but it's a mill 3 on both players' turns. Once again, just very nice, absolutely necessary. And when it's sent to graveyard by card effect, it searches for a tier trap. All the tier traps are good. So that's good to know. Then we've got the Agido pieces. These 2 mill 5. These 2 shuffle 3. Kelbek obviously being a hand trap effect's very nice. Keldo being able to search for them also comes up a lot. Now, importantly, they don't have to be sent from hand by card effect. There is a card that I'm going to use later which pitches them just from hand, which triggers them. Very nice. Comes up a lot more than you think. Also, something to remember. Agido can revive the other any Earth Fairy, so the Agido pieces. And then you can make a level 4. Comes up. I just thought I'd point that one out. Seems like a good thing. Then we've got the Shaddoll monsters of 1 Squamata. When it's sent to graveyard by card effect, you can mill a Shaddoll. It's got a flip effect that pops 1. Don't come bottom, but when it does, it does. Helshaddoll Hollow. This card ain't getting flipped up. It has an effect. You can send one and banish it. That ain't going to come up. I'm sorry. But when it's sent to graveyard by card effect, it can mill up to the number of attributes on the field. That can range normally from 2... Well, it can be 1 to 6, obviously, but normally it'll range from 1 to 3, maybe 4 if your opponent has a monster. Very nice. And then Shaddoll Beast, draw 1. Good. And its flip effect can come up, unlike Helshaddoll. Sometimes. Then we've got 3 copies of Diviner of the Herald. 3 copies of Diviner. Sends a fairy monster from deck or extra deck to the graveyard, and then gains its level. This comes up a lot more than you think for leveling because of Baron. If you send one of the Agido pieces, that does trigger their effects. So you can mill 5. But if you have a spare level 4 out from maybe just an Agido piece in general, or you've got a spare one out and you don't need it for like a redoer or a mud dragon or something like that, you can just make Baron. Baron's good. Baron's nice. Next we have 3 copies of Perlereino. Perlereino is broken. I'm so glad it's still at 3. That's a surprise tool. So when it's activated, it searches for a tier monster. It's just Roa, but it also gives all fusions, for some reason, and all Tearlaments 500 attack. Very nice. With Scream and Perlereino, it gives your tier monsters and your fusions an extra 1,000 difference between attacks. Normally, attack manipulation isn't worth it. 1,000 difference, that's very nice. And then, when a tier monster is shuffled back, you can target one card on the field and pop it. This is how they play through every single floodgate known to man. One thing to remember with this is, and I will remind people, because they don't think about it, you can pop your cards with it. You can target your Tearlament monsters, pop it to fuse. You can pop like a trap that you've set, like a Trivikarma or something. You can pop just some of the fusions if you want to get rid of them. Honestly, comes up so much. Came up today when I was at locals. You've got to keep that one in mind. Next thing, we have 3 copies of Super Poly. Super Poly outs every board. Okay, I say that. There's a few boards that play around it, which I've noticed today. But you can fuse your own monsters. You can fuse like a dark monster with with the Shaddolls. It comes up. It pitches one as well, which honestly sometimes comes up a lot more than you'd think. It's very nice to have, and we're playing a bunch of the spawning talents. Next, we have 1 copy of Shaddoll Fusion. This goes with the Shaddoll package. You can search it with a card that I'm not running. There's a combo, but it does just fuse, and if your opponent has an extract monster, you can activate it and then send 2 cards from deck, which can be, if you're fusing into something like Shekhinaga, that is a Squamata or a Beast and a Agido piece. If that is a Winder, that is a Tearlament and a Squamata. You can get a Squamata and Beast and Helshaddoll every time, but then you can send different attributes and stuff. If you are running App Cologne, you can Shaddoll Fusion for Hell and Squamata. Very nice. Very useful card. Then we've got 3 copies of Danger Nessie. It's a danger card. It can trigger the Tears in hand. It's also an Aqua. The biggest thing about Nessie is that it's an Aqua. You know, you can just fuse into... you can use it for Kaleido-Heart. You can use it for Grapha. Really nice. Being a Dark Aqua, very nice. And then we've got 1 copy of Jackalope. It's a toss-up between what you want. Jackalope, you can sometimes miss the special summon, and why some people run Such instead. The reason I like Jackalope in particular is because it's shiny. No, it's because you can get a Nessie on field, which it's a 7, it's a body, it's a water. You can do a bunch of a water, an aqua, you can do a bunch of stuff with it. I think it's very much better to have just a Nessie on field rather than having a Suk. Unfortunately, Tearlaments Rulkallos is banned. Yeah, that's the main reason. To be fair, it being able to summon Rulk straight away, even if it wasn't banned, this is just a tangent. Why am I talking about this? I don't know. It's a tangent. You can fuse into Rulk anyway. It replaces Grapha's name, which lets you summon Grapha. I still think, even with Kit Kloss in the game, it would still be a very good card to run. You probably wouldn't run it at 3 then. Foolish Burial. Mills one. Not much more to say about that. Called by the Grave. You lose to things like Shifter. You may as well play Shifter out. We have then 2 copies of Tearlaments Sulliek. You can flip it up, negate a monster your opponent controls, and then send 1 tier name from field to grave. This is very nice. It triggers the tier names. It negates the card. It's searchable off Scream. It's searchable off Trivikarma, which I'm going to show you in a sec. Very nice. Tearlaments Cryme. When a spell trap or monster effect is activated, negate it. It's the counter trap that negates. It's very nice. It can, when it's sent to graveyard by card effect, it can mill. When it's sent to graveyard by card effect, it can add back a banished tier name, which is very nice for recycling things, especially if they get banished off, like, say, a Mirror Jade or something. The issue is you have to have a monster in hand, which in tier sometimes is actually quite hard. Drawing stuff, normally fine. Getting a specific monster in hand can be hard. It depends on your open hand. And then 2 copies of Trivikarma. It has an effect which won't come up because we're not running VSAS, but when it's in graveyard, you can banish it to search a card that lists VSAS. Now, this includes the Tearlament field spell and all the tier spell traps. So if you've got Perlereino, you can grab Scream. If you've got anything, you can grab... If you've got both Perlereino and Scream, you'd normally grab a tier trap. Depends what you want. It's very versatile, and I like it at 2. I warn you, my voice is getting a little spotty, but we'll keep going through to finish this. We've got Tearlaments Rulkallos. This requires tier Kit Kloss and 1 Tearlaments monster. This is an issue because you have to have King Engrave to summon it. But if you do, it's very good. It has a protection effect, so other Aqua monsters can't be destroyed by battle. It is a solemn warning, so if your opponent would activate an effect that would special summon a monster, you can send a tier card from hand or field to grave, negate it, and destroy it. This can send itself, which is nice because it has an effect when it's sent to graveyard, can just special itself back, so it's free. But it can also send a used Sulliek, which generates you advantage. It's very nice. Definitely a good card. Tearlaments Kaleido-Heart requires 1 Reinoheart and then 2 Aqua monsters. Nice because you can substitute Reinoheart with a King, or you can use King because it's an Aqua. You can use Nessies to recycle Nessies. Just an all-around very nice fusion requirement. It can't use fusion material, protects it from things like Poly, very nice. If it's special summoned or an Aqua is sent to grave while it's on the field, you can tag it 1 card on the field, shuffle it back in. And then when it's sent to graveyard by card effect, you can special summon it and then send a tier name. This will get you so far. It can start up a combo again if it's the only card you've got. Very, very nice. Then we've got Predaplant, Draco's Tepelia, 1 fusion monster and 1 dark monster. Normally that dark monster is it's normally a Tearlaments, but it recycles fusion monsters, puts them back into extra deck. It's also in the game. Very nice. Very good. And then we've got 1 copy of Grapha. This requires Grapha, so you have to use King of the Swamp to summon it. And then you need 1 dark monster, which is names. Importantly, this has a quick effect when your opponent activates a monster effect or a normal spell trap. You can change that effect to you discard 1 card. That triggers your tier names, does a lot of things. Very nice. we have got one copy of Muddragon. Muddragon, it's a super poly target. It is also a target for your Tearlament monsters and another dark monster engrave. You like your Shaddolls. You just want a level 4 up. Has a bit of targeting protection, which is nice. Mostly that's why. Garura's very relevant. Garura is one, a poly target. 2, it can deal 4k if it attacks directly. That comes up a lot more than you'd think because it gains fabric from the field spell. Honestly, you close games, people just don't realise it doubles battle damage. But when it's sent to graveyard, it draws one. And that can start all your combos. It's also a 6, which is, you know, it's a kind of nicer. And then you've got one copy of Shekhinaga, one Shaddoll monster, one Earth monster. You're Helshaddoll Fusion into this one. It triggers the Ishizus. Sometimes has a Solemn effect that comes up. Also, it recycles Fusion when it's integrated. Very nice. Wins a floodgate that wins you the game. It can trigger your monsters. It can trigger your tier monsters, which will keep you going. And also, it's just a floodgate, and it recycles Shaddoll Fusion. Once again, very nice. Baron. Baron's Baron. Baron's negate. You can use it, you contribute it to special back the Diviner that you use, Diviner effect send. Summon a level 4 on your turn, like a Rhino or a Scheiren. Do it all again. Gotta love it. One Redoer. Redoer, XE4, specifically, obviously it's got all the nice Redoer effects of stealing your opponent's top card, but when you activate its effect, it detaches the card effect. This means that it triggers the Tearlaments. It can trigger Scheiren, which is normally what you're using it for, but it can also trigger Reinoheart if you ever need to do that. Comes up very much in all the very bricky tier packs. Then we've got one copy of IP. IP is a link to that links for more things. Normally you want to do it on a, once again, kind of bricky tier hand, where you need to get a link to out to go into sprint. But you can use it in your opponent's turn, which comes up a lot more. Normally when you use Merrli to get it out, which came up today. One copy of Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep, you have to be careful with. You need to be careful with your link placements really with it. You want a fusion under it, so then when you special summon anything to its other zone, you can trigger its effect to revive one. Normally you want to be using this in your opponent's turn to revive, say, a Diviner or a Reinoheart, one of those two. Normally you can use it to revive any level 4 though. That's just what I recommend. One copy of Barricade Plug. This is a weird one. It does protect the field spell from destruction, which comes up. It does recycle field spells and continuous spells. You have two very good ones. Perlereino and Scream are both things you would want to recycle off this. But the biggest thing about this is a link to that pitches one. This means you can pitch a Shizu piece that's in your hand and you can't get it out of your hand. Or you can pitch Trivikarma and then use Trivikarma's effect to do your combo. Honestly, this thing has saved my life so many times, it's unreal. And then any of these link 2s can be converted into a Sprint. Sprint, when it's link summoned, mills level 2 monster. This is Diviner, or this is Merrli. It's always Merrli. That triggers Merrli. Merrli fuses. Also, sometimes you can use it with a Redoer to do funny things like bounce stuff, but it doesn't come up that much. And then lastly, I am really not losing to Crooked Cook. You cannot make me lose to Crooked Cook. This will stay in every deck as much as I can put it in there. It's an anti-I won't die card. Now, the side deck, we have 2 more copies of Shaddoll Fusion. Shaddoll Fusion, importantly, when they control an extra deck monster, you can send cards from deck. That's why I'm side decking 2 copies of it. Just very nice to have. Nibiru's a good anti-meta card. Evenly's a card I'm considering cutting Evenly sometimes. I'm sick of being... Another tangent. I am sick of being given just cards that summon to my field and then stop me from activating things. I know I'm playing like Fenrir and Evenly, which is the two cards that really count as, but hey, it happens. Your back row removal for if they've got all the floodgates like macro and stuff. Gamma Seal is the kaiju, but it's an aqua. That comes up. One copy of Poly, so you can discard it off. You can discard King and its hand. Only really comes up going second, which is why I'm side decking it. I'm also not running Guardian Chimera, which would be really good with it. Yeah. One thing I do recommend is, before I close off this deck profile, because my throat is killing me and I can't do combos today, but one thing I do recommend is if you are pick up this deck, consider picking up Grand Gugnio and Helshaddoll Al Capone A, because you can fuse a Tearlament and King into Grand Gugnio. Grand Gugnio effect, send App Cologne from the X deck, and then use App Cologne's effect to get either a Schism or a Shaddoll Fusion to hand. This is very nice. It is cycles things. Schism sets up Winded consistently. Definitely recommend you look into that. But for tonight, that is Shaddoll. It's been lovely doing this today, and I hope you all have fun. Bye.